110th birthday of Dr. Norman Borlaug, who studied plants and changed the world with the Green Revolution in agriculture. Joining me this morning to share the legacy of Dr. Borlaug is celebrity historian Raffi Andonian. Good morning to you, Raffi.
Good morning. And you know, Dr. Borlaug thought that food was a moral right for people, and it kind of drove a lot of what he did later.
I love that. So let's talk, who is Dr. Norman Borlaug?
The guy that grew up in Iowa in a one-room schoolhouse, believe it or not, and went on to have this huge legacy. He was also an athlete, he was a wrestler, and that's how he went to college at undergrad, and he studied forestry and went on to work for the U.S. Forest Service.
Wow.
And then he went back to school in graduate school and got a PhD in plant pathology. So think about it, this guy's working in the Forest Service, had a background in forestry, worked and then got his PhD in plants, so he was always immersed in this world. But one of the things in the plant world, but one of the things that really influenced him is when he was in Minnesota, where he was going to school, during the Great Depression, he saw a lot of hungry people around him, and he also got exposed to the Civilian Conservation Corps when he was out doing work, where he also saw the kind of people being put to work during the Great Depression. And that struck him, and that really stayed with him throughout. So, for example, later in his or early in his career, but after his graduate school, he was assigned to do science research in plants in Mexico. And in Mexico, there were many poor farmers, and he worked with Mexican scientists to help alleviate those poor farmers and the poverty that he saw around him. So the social part and his science research were coming together. And in that process, he created a huge idea for wheat that I'll talk about in just a moment, that really helped transform agriculture and later got exported to Pakistan and to parts of Asia, parts of Africa, and started what's known as the Green Revolution.
Wow, I love literally the hunger and the drive to feed these people and also kind of get as much knowledge as you can. So you mentioned it. What is the Green Revolution?
The Green Revolution was basically taking, and he's known as the father of the Green Revolution, by the way, so very much interconnected, but taking, in his case, the wheat and being able to create across generations of the wheat, having more disease resistance, being able to grow them in different conditions, like weather conditions, climate conditions, and to grow them at different latitudes, and basically making it more productive and making it more consistent. And in that process, because doing that, often they were able to double, triple yields, and that meant that you're going to have less land, more crops. More crops, less land. That productivity, that higher yield was huge in being able to help alleviate the poverty and help decline malnutrition, because one of the other skills that he had that was really valuable, in addition to the science part and wanting the social purpose, was understanding the research and applying it to the technology to execute these, which his model then got copied in rice and other crops and other parts of the world. And very importantly, he was really good at politics in persuading different countries to adopt this. That's how I was able to export around the world. And everywhere they did that, you would see malnutrition begin to decline. Now, speaking of politics, here in the U.S., where he's from, and where he did his education and where he was a professor as well, that's why he was recognized by the U.S. Congress with the Congressional Gold Medal, which is right here, a duplicate of it, the bronze medal duplicate from the U.S. Mint. It still exists today. This is showing him, of course, this is what was given to him as a Congressional Gold Medal, so recognized by U.S. Congress for his work, not just his research, but very importantly, his impact on human lives. Some say that he is responsible for saving more lives than anyone else because of the technology and the Green Revolution that you're describing.
Wow, that is just insane. And to think about, those practices are still into effect today.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Now, there are many other ways he was honored as well. I mentioned a couple others. Speaking of politics, he also won the Presidential Medal of Freedom given by the U.S. President. So not just by Congress, but the U.S. President. And if you go to U.S. Capitol today, there's a statue to him. So he's one of the statues in the U.S. Capitol if you were to go visit it in D.C. Now, he also won the top award from the National Academy of Sciences, and he won the Rotary International Award for peace around the world, international understanding. Now, I happen to be a member of Rotary Club, so that's really cool to see that. But that also shows you that his impact was global in helping international understanding in the process of being able to bring countries around to something that unifies with the famine that we're talking about, or helping alleviate famine. But my favorite of his other recognitions is that he won the Nobel Peace Prize, and he is the only person in agriculture to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, here's the best story about that. He then, after he won the Nobel Peace Prize, went and tried to create and approached the Nobel Committee to create an award just for agriculture. And guess what the Nobel Committee said? They said, no, we're not going to create an award just for agriculture. So you know what he did? He went and created his own award, and it still exists today. It's called the World Food Prize. It still exists. It goes to people that make advancements in agriculture that are helping food availability, and it also has a symposium symposium and youth programs, all associated with his legacy. So he went and he basically created an alternative because of the decline that he got. That's really fascinating to think about.
Wow.
And finally, what I think about when I think about his legacy is a Phil Collins song.
Okay.
You know, there's a song that he has, it's called Another Day in Paradise, and he sings, "Oh Lord, is there anything anybody can do? Oh Lord, there must be something that you can say." And that is the calling that Dr. Borlaug answered, that Phil Collins was singing about.
Wow, what a full circle moment. Thank you so much, Raffi, for joining us today and always sharing your abundant knowledge in history. If you want more information about Raffi Andonian, the celebrity historian, and his endless amount of content, visit celebrityhistorian.com.